Welcome back. This is part 2 of Information Security Management. I am Dr. Suzanne Van Hove, and I am your instructor. So this lesson is going to revolve around the activities within Information Security Management. We'll also talk a little bit about security controls, and then how do we manage security breaches and incidents. So this is really the doing aspect of Information Security Management. Here's our process diagram, or I wouldn't even say it's a process diagram, our activity diagram that we associate with information security management. Here's where you can actually see that security management information system, the data store, the gray data circle down at the bottom. We're going to break this down into 3 parts and go through these activities relatively quickly. There's not a whole lot of information in the service design volume. Most of this information, again, they've taken it from ISO 27001, ISO 27000 series or family of standards, and it really does evolve around the ISMS as well as the SMIS. So your Information Security Management System and the Security Management Information System. Okay, so let's look at this first set. We're going to start off with the data store itself, the Security Management Information System, the SMIS. It is a data store. I'm going to ask you very easily, what do you suppose it logically links into? Hopefully, immediate answer is the CMDB, the CMS, the SKMS, and you would be absolutely correct. Notice what's happening in this data store. We have the information security policy. We have our various reports and information, the controls that we've deployed, as well as the security risks and responses, monitoring data. This is going to hold all the data and is under the ownership of this process to manage this data store. So we'll interact with the activities that we're going to see in just a moment. We have the 2 sets of activities where data will flow in and out of this data store. So here's our first set of data, our first set of activities. Produce and maintain an information security policy. Not much more to say about that. We've discussed this policy, its various components, what it needs to refer back to and support that business security policy. From that policy, we should be able to assess and categorize information assets, risks, and vulnerabilities. So starting to look at our environment, looking at what are our assets, our threats, and our vulnerability to those threats. Again, this is from an information security perspective, so we could talk to knowledge management as well, making sure that we understand where our key data points are. We want to regularly assess, review, and report on security risks and threats, which means we need to be an active professional, which means from a security management perspective, attend conferences, read journals, trade magazines, keep in touch with what's currently going on from a security perspective. And then as those threats and risks are coming up and that may impact your organization, obviously you're going to impose new security controls, review the ones that are in place to make sure that they're still valid. Our second set of activities comes around more within the ongoing management. Monitor and manage the security incidents and breaches. Review and report, reduce the number of security breaches and major incidents, as well as communication and implementing and enforcing adherence to all security policies. So this is kind of the administrative side of information security management. Again, having the good policies in place for handling security incidents and breaches. We'll talk about that in an upcoming slide in just a couple of minutes. But there's your set of activities. It's no more complex than that. And that really truly is about the amount of information that we have. So let's go ahead and move on. Review the entire activity diagram one more time. You can see that each of the activities, how they flow together, how they share and produce information into the SMIS, as well as how they finally produce or deploy those security controls. Okay, so the security controls themselves. We do have the diagram in the upper left-hand corner where we're showing kind of a highly generic, I'm going to say, life cycle of a security event where we could have a threat, we have the incident, we have damage done, and then we go through and have a bit of control. And you'll notice on the left-hand side of that diagram that once we have a threat, we can implement preventative or reductive controls. Once there's been an incident, we could have through detection and repression, we can control that incident. And then once we've got damage, we can go through that correction and recovery actions. So the security controls come through in 5 groups. Preventative, which are measures to prevent security incidents, and this could be the assigning of security rights, authorization, authentication of security rights to actually engage or to utilize sets of information and data. Reductive controls. These are proactive measures to minimize potential damage. And this is making sure that we have the appropriate backups and contingency plans that in case if something does occur, we can recover quickly. Detective controls. These are measures that will allow the discovery of security incidents, such as antivirus or monitoring measures. Repressive controls. These are measures that will counteract any continuation or repetition of that security threat or incident. For example, I've had an app on my phone for a number of months where I'm trying to interact with my insurance company, and for whatever reason, I have forgotten either the password or I'm not typing it right. Well, the third time I type it, it immediately throws me out and tells me I have to call customer service to get it reset. So I love my insurance company for it, but I really hate the fact that I can't get in to use the app. So that kind of has 2 points to it, doesn't it? Is it too stringent of a control, or is it an appropriate action depending on how they're protecting my security and information and data? Okay, so repressive, here I can block the account. I can keep access cards if somebody tries to use an access card, doesn't have the appropriate password, something along that line. So in other words, it can't be repeated. And then the last one, which is corrective, we have the measures that would repair damage. And again, examples of corrective ones would be restoring the system from a backup or rolling back to a stable point, that type of an action. I'm going to stop here for a second and give you a little bit of a heads up. This area here, the security controls, they tend to be common exam questions. Ensure that you understand the different types of controls and exactly what they mean, because I think sometimes when I read them, I may not come up with the same definition as what's listed. So make sure that you have the good definitions down, as well as understanding the examples of how you would deploy that type of control, those things that I just provided for you. Okay, so this is a good area to remember. So how do we go about managing security breaches and incidents? Well, we know that all incidents and all questions, comments, concerns from a service management utopic view, they go to the service desk, right? So it's an incident. Somebody says, oh, something doesn't work. I'm going to call the service desk. Well, best practice immediately dictates and says any information security related incident must be immediately escalated to information security management. Great best practice. I gotta love it. But what does that imply? It implies that information security management, the team, has described what constitutes an information security breach or an incident, and ensures that the service desk, incident management, and also the service operations staff are fully aware of those definitions and events. Therefore, they can act in an appropriate and efficient manner, immediately escalating that incident over to the information security management team. We want to still follow, it is an incident, right? We still follow the centralized recording, the incident management process, but it's just something that is immediately escalated to the information security team. We still want to capture the appropriate log and audit files, attach them to the incident record. We still manage it within the same time frames, the agreed level of prioritization. They'll still manage the incident, but they will not manage its resolution. We could utilize problem management for root cause analysis if this is something that's happening on a regular basis, or if there's a great enough impact, let's figure out which CI is actually the cause of that failure of that security policy. So this is something that requires a little bit of pre-work, a little bit of education for the incident management teams, service desk, service operation teams, and then also an education for the information security management folks to ensure that they know that they must follow the incident management procedures, using the same record keeping, using the same prioritization and fulfillment and policies. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next lesson, which will wrap up information security management.